Hi, everybody. I just got interviewed by Keith Andrew, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. Keith is a delightful interviewer. He's very smart, and I think what he's doing is very important. It's important for all of us. I love that he's helping people through this, and if there's anything you can do to get this program seen, because I'm in it, and because Keith is a hell of a guy, please do that.
For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. Answer your own question. What is the Keith Andrew Network? The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if I'm having a work disability, I can still amount to something. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities that never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you want to be. It's a prove to them and get them out to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, you do not have to have learning disabilities or disabilities to be on my show. That's my message. I'm showing you what I can overcome and accomplish. Just want to stress up on that. But today we have a very special guest. You're a four-time book author. So that's the one thing I want to talk to you about. But the first one I want to ask you is, you also mentioned you are a professional actor. So what can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Keith. First of all, let me just say thank you for inviting me on your show. I love to get the opportunity to talk, especially when it comes to background and things like that. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I was born in the 50s, and it was a very slow, quiet time. There were many things brewing, though, that I wasn't aware of at that young age. Things like cultural explosions and racism and things in society and all those little things that they nitpick about. They were going on back then as well. But I was a kid, and I didn't know it. So I played on my skateboard a great deal of time. My father was a working man. He drove trucks at night. And he came home in the morning at about 9 o'clock, and he was pretty angry every time he came home. And now, as an older fellow, I understand why. I mean, working nights is tough, and especially when you have 5 kids. I was the middle boy out of 5 children, so I was second from the last, and I was the only one with blue eyes and the fair hair. I was a towhead when I grew up. And my dad was very strict. So I was always constantly asking him why. He'd say something and I'd say, well, why? And he'd say, well, because I said so. And I'd go, but why? I say, the sky is black, it's black. And I say, no, it's blue. And, then you'd get the backhand across the face. That was the time. I mean, it was just rough. It was a rough upbringing. So I was looking for myself at a very early age, and I always felt different than other people. That didn't transpose into I feel great about myself. It mostly went to I'm not worthy. I'm nothing. I'm a piece of dirt in this world. And I used to be self-conscious to the point to where, as a child, I was afraid to cross the street if there were cars waiting, because I thought the people in their cars were watching me and judging me. And I just couldn't handle their opinion. And I spent a good deal of my life doing that. But on the flip side of that coin, I had the energy, and now I can say the talent, to make something of myself. I just had no clue how to. I had none. I had no clue. Barely went to school growing up. Did not graduate conventional high school. When I was supposed to graduate conventional high school, I had the credits of a 9th grader. So they couldn't pass me. They couldn't even say, well, let's just pass him to get rid of him, because I was so far away from being a graduate. So I went to continuation schools. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's where kind of the rough kids, they went and, they studied in these little bungalows, and, we hung our heads, and it just added to the you're not worth anything, experience. And so I enjoyed rock and roll music. I enjoyed movies. Los Angeles was the place to be. In the late 60s and early 70s, if you loved music, it was right there. And if you loved film, the 70s were an incredible time for film in America. It was all those dark kind of mysterious dramas they were coming out with, and cop dramas, and all this gritty stuff where they got underneath the skin, underneath the fingernails, instead of just a nice simple little conflict. They were getting down to the gritty stuff, and it was a great time. The Godfathers came out, The Exorcist came out. There was a whole bunch of movies that came out at that time, and rock and roll. I mean, I was at the first David Bowie concert in Los Angeles before anybody here knew who he was. And he was doing Ziggy Stardust, and he was playing this small little Santa Monica Civic Center. So, to be right there in the middle of that stuff, and to have a dangerous mind like I did, when I say dangerous, because I always knew there was something different. I always wanted more. And sometimes that more was not focused. And more went, I need to go out and get my butt kicked tonight. Or I need to go out and see how mad I can make this person. Or I need to go out and try to have as many flings as possible. But I lived dangerously, constantly. And I was put into boys' homes when I was growing up, and it was mostly because of what they called incorrigible. I couldn't settle down in a household. My mother was having open heart surgeries constantly. My dad was working nights and having an affair on her. So nobody wanted to take care of the kids. So we were kind of on our own. And I was the one I had, things exploding in my head, and I couldn't contain myself. So I was the one that would never shut up, never stop. And I had to keep going. So I went through the system, boys' homes and things like that. And I got out and I decided, well, I'm going to go back to junior college. And I went back to junior college and I got my degree, my associate's degree in drama. Never tried it before, but a friend of mine, we used to hang out all the time, my music buddy, we'd go into Hollywood and catch all of the talking heads when they first shows. Anyway, he'd go, you know what? You should be an actor. You really should be an actor. You're just nuts. I mean, I'd get myself backstage at concerts just because I'd walk up to the door and say, hey man, what's going on? Oh yeah, they know me back there, and they'd let me in, and we do all this stuff. And he goes, you need to be an actor. So I went back to Glendale College in Glendale, California, in Los Angeles, and I took up acting, and that's where it started. And I started immediately. I got into a play with verse. And then I started doing dinner theater from a guy in town that saw me over at the community theater. And then, there's years and years and years of running around and trying to find the right agents and trying to find the right project and doing theater and, trying to get people to notice you. And I finally started to get some recognition when I was cast in a play that was done over at USC. It was on their campus, but it was for the Padua Hills Playwrights Festival. And it was a whole bunch of California playwrights, and Sam Shepard's sister ran the company. And so there was a lot of affluential people doing this festival. And this one woman, Marlene Gomard Meyer, wrote a play, and at the last minute I was cast in it. It was a great play. We had a lot of fun in it. But afterwards, there was a big casting director in town. He said, he waited for me and he goes, look, I need you to call me tomorrow. And I need you to clear your calendar. And I was like, whoa, okay, what does that mean? But I mean, I still wasn't through self-sabotaging and running around and getting in a lot of trouble and things like that. But I did get cast in some pretty cool stuff back then. And I was submitted for an Emmy by Picket Fences. It was an old show that was on TV. Tom Skerritt, all those guys run it. And it was cleaning up on the Emmys all the time. So I was kind of the talk of the town for a little while. And because I did not know how to parlay, I did not know how to increase my career. I mean, I walked around feeling like great about the things that happened to me, but I always felt like I was lucky, and not just lucky, but lucky beyond anything that should have been happening to me. So in other words, it's like, this isn't really happening. It's going to go away in a minute. They're going to know who I am. And that was part of who I was. And through the years, I mean, I've done tons of theater. I've done films like Fight Club. I've got a handful of good projects that I'm really proud of. And it's taking me up until maybe the last couple of years before I really sort of realized who I am as an artist. That long it has taken me, because I was running from every demon I ever had. I had a problem with addiction. So 32 years ago, I stopped drinking. If you've got a problem with alcohol or substance, nothing in your life is going to happen until you quit it. And until you start to grow up and you start to learn who you are. Because if you're drinking behind all that craziness, guess what? When you stop drinking, you're still crazy. That's what I found out. So, but I mean, these days now, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with who I am and what I can put out there. So I'm doing theater constantly. I'm writing books. I'm writing constantly, and I'm auditioning a great deal. Last year's COVID was kind of a blow, to the industry. We had a lot of things planned. Everything just stopped. So we're coming back up again. We're starting up on some projects and things like that, and keeping our fingers crossed that, this COVID's going to stay away long enough for us as a society to get back into the swing of things.
But one thing I will say is be prepared for the shit to hit the fan. Because when in the cases right now, and it's PG-13, but I like to be real, like we were saying, I can relate to you. I tell my dad something, and he says, because I said so. And I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and 1 sister. So there are some similarities between you and me.
Right.
But, it's kind of like my talk show. Yes, I want to do this as far as I live, until the day I die. But I want to do so much. But I feel like, trying to find an expression. There's 2 expressions I use. I haven't used them as of late. One is called the leash. Here's I can't see my. Here's the leash. You gotta go, and you gotta go, and you go. It's like, okay, you have all this room. Now we're gonna hold the rest of it and see how far you're able to do with what we're able to give you. So you have all this freedom, because you're not gonna hang yourself with it.
Well, sure, yeah.
And then the other one is the glass ceiling. You're only got to go up. I can't see. You're only going to go so far up. And once you start hitting the glass ceiling, then you're going to start getting people's attention. Is he ready? Is he capable of what's on the other side? Does he know what he's getting himself into? He will be on his own. He's got to be in the whole expression, uncharted territory. So you're going to break the glass ceiling and break on the doors, break on through to the other side. Or you got to hang yourself with the leash. It's like he gave you so much freedom and you don't know what to do with it. So there's 2 different scenarios. But for me, I feel like it's kind of like the first one. I have so much freedom. And thanks to you, we're up to 875 episodes. But
wow.
The biggest thing is...
Congratulations.
No, I appreciate it. The biggest thing is, the audience. You need to get the audience behind you. And we can talk about this off the air, but there's so many great videos on my content. But if you don't have a solid fan base, and I'm going to watch this no matter what because I believe in you, then it's kind of, okay, it's good. But if you kind of have 1 or 2 people like, yeah, you're doing something good, but it's not going anywhere. Then you start to doubt yourself. So the question I want to ask you is, everything that you accomplished in your life, being on Picket Fences and you're on Fight Club, was there ever a time, say, I made it? Or was there ever a time where you're like, this is as far as it's going to go?
Well, it's a good question. That's a good question. I think for me, I think what normal people do is when they have one event, they grow on that event and they use it they use it to move themselves up the ladder. In other words, you take information and you continue to grow with that information. Every time I achieve something, and I achieved some really cool things, and I was way out of my league sometimes. Every time I did that, like I said, it felt to me like, oh, you just got lucky. There's nothing to parlay. I had nothing in the bank. There was nothing inside. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to take it and go, wow, look what you just did. If you did that, you could. No, it was right back to the drugs, alcohol, party, run for myself. Always running for myself. Only in these later years am I able to go, okay, look what you just did. Now you did that. Surely you can do this, dude, because you have a track record. But you see, growing up, I didn't have a track record. I had a pile of dirt. And I mean that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating it. I mean, we were raised like, like wolves in a den, maybe not even as good. I mean, my father's favorite saying was, I'd rather have 5 German Shepherds than you kids. So this is what we grew up with. So, years and years and years and years of muddling through this stuff. And I finally go, wow, let's see, that last audition I did, I was really good in that. And if I could do that, guess what I can be next time? It's about information and being able to teach yourself to move forward. But if you don't have that, which I didn't have, what do? You don't know what to do. It feels like a farce. And so when the next audition comes up, you're all nervous, like, oh, can I do this again? I avoided acting classes because I didn't want anybody telling me that I wasn't any good, and then I started going and at some points, and, it didn't go well. I'm not the personal thespian type, you know what I mean? Then I started in with a guy named Roy London over in Los Angeles, and he taught me an awful lot. And that was sort of the beginning, a little bit of I guess it was, your actions can reap benefits. And if you keep taking these actions, the benefits will keep coming because it's just simply a cause and effect. If you're able to stay on that trajectory, I was just never able to stay on it, except for maybe the last 10 years of my life, maybe. Slowly, and you know what happens? There's an attitude that's, I start to relinquish. I don't care what people think of me. And before I cared what everybody thought of me, whether they were thinking of me or not. Even if they weren't thinking of me, I thought they were thinking of me. They were thinking about, oh, they're picking me apart. And that's how fragile I was. And that's what most alcoholics drink behind.
People say to me, so it's true sometimes, I walk around with my emotions on my sleeves.
Oh, really? That's funny.
But at the end of the day, whatever addictions you have and everything, the biggest thing, and I think about this too, you are your own worst enemy. So if you can convince yourself, I'm capable of doing this, and I have everything under control. I mean, yeah, it's great to say, yeah, I have everything under control until you get punched in the face. And then you're like, okay, now I have to step back and reserve everything, make sure everything's still in order. But, what was the other joke when you say to God, I had plans, God just stands there and laughs at you?
Yeah.
But it's the biggest thing you have to do is, and this is what I do every day. If you can look at yourself in the mirror, like right now, I'm looking at my reflection because I'm speaking. If I can look at my reflection and I'm happy with what I see, then you're doing the right thing. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror, you really need to give yourself a makeover and make yourself a better person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the trick is, it's a catch-22 because people that have a tendency to feel bad around themselves end up hanging around people that will make them feel bad. And so it takes the courage to go, okay, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that anymore, or that kind of behavior, or I'm not going to take that kind of an attitude, or I'm not going to have a director or a casting director, yell at me in the room in front of people. There's just certain things you just go, man, that's not happening anymore. I mean, it didn't happen back then, but it wasn't productive to go, hey, F you, and walk out. It's not productive. But what is productive is to go, no, sorry, bye. And it takes, it takes a nation for people to get that in their heads, because, when you've been abused or you have deep-seated issues about yourself, it's in your DNA. And it takes a support group. Anywhere anybody can find a support group that's going through these feelings, go there, trust them, love them, let them love you. Let them love you until, you're able to support the kind of ideology that you've always wanted. We've all got that thing in us, that place in the sun, whatever it is, right? And it's just a matter of how well we support it as to how we get through this life. If you support, yes, there's a place. There's a wonderful, beautiful place in this world, in this universe, everywhere. Then you're going to be okay. But it's when we don't think that, that everything is just frightening. It's intense. It's abusive. It's horrific. It's horrifying. And it can be very difficult, and especially people that have any kind of liabilities, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever. It's just, like you say, Keith, it takes a village. And if you can find your village, go for it. Don't go the opposite direction. Don't go where they don't want you. I used to go to places that, they don't want me around. And I just go, hey, man, why don't you want me around? It's like, what's more annoying than that?
True.
What I mean?
I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but the first one I want to ask you, wrapping up, how can our fans and listeners follow you on social media, and what is next coming up on the horizon?
Great. Thank you for asking that. Well, acting-wise, I've got a couple of projects. I'm directing The Hairy Ape by Eugene O'Neill in Dallas, Texas. I'm auditioning. I just had a nice big audition that I can't talk about, but that's always a crapshoot. You just roll the dice and throw them, and so that's going on. I've just finished my fourth book, Eve. It's a novel, and it's similar to the things that we're talking about. It's about getting by in this world with so many distractions out there, and so much brutality and things like that, and it has to be found in the spirit. There's just I'm not talking about religion. I'm just saying, you got to be okay in here. You got to find a way to be okay inside. So the book is about that, but it's wrapped around these interesting characters that takes place in the early 30s in New York. So that's what I've got going. I'm Van Quattro on Facebook, Van Quattro on Instagram. I don't know, Twitter, the same thing. I'm Van Quattro. I'm still Van Quattro. I don't think I have any other social programs that I work with.
Well, I would recommend, for me, the big four I have: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Okay, I do have LinkedIn. And I don't get on there as much, but I'll get on there a couple times a week.
No, absolutely. And the more recommendations you have, the more you can say, hey, check out my recommendations. There's other people in the entertainment business who are like, the last one on, not to ramble on, I do apologize, but
no, you're not.
What I want to ask you is, how did you find someone to represent you, number one? And do you think there's someone out there who wants to represent me? And the reason I say that is like, I came across your page, I want to represent you, but of course you have to pay and everything. Mm-hmm. But when they say, can I see some of your recommendations? And like some of your references. Oh, no, you can't talk to my contacts. I don't want you to talk to my contacts. Can't see my recommendations. Mm-hmm. How do you know someone's legit and someone who's full of BS? Passing it
when they're referring to you to people?
Well, just overall.
Oh, geez. I don't know. I'm such a judgmental character anyway. I just am. I've become so sort of, it's just, I'm just leery of everybody. I think for me, it's the only thing that'll prove to me that somebody's valid is time. Unfortunately, it's a trial and error. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to take the big step and go, okay, I'm going to follow your advice. I'm going to call this person, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And if they let you down, you kind of roll with that. But I think it's about the relationships. And I'm finding that more and more, if you just say what you need, people will accommodate.
But let me ask you this. Have you ever been paid someone to represent you?
No.
And someone who says they want to represent you, but you have to pay them?
No. I mean, I have. There's a lot of people that are out there doing that. But ever since I was, first started out, I was always told, don't go there. You're gonna pay them anyway by booking.
Right.
That's how they get paid, by your booking, not by taking money from you.
I found so many people like that. Like, give me like $500. I'm like, I don't have money. Tell you what, I like you. Give me $100 and I'll represent you. And you have to sign this contract. And I'm like, okay, what exactly do I get out of it? Apparently nothing up front. Like, you get $100 saying, okay, you just con someone into $100. But there are things where people say you never pay to be represented. If they are real, they will book a gig, and once things start moving, okay, then we can make a contract, then we do like 5 or 10% of what I make, because once you make money, they make money. It's not they make money and you make absolutely nothing.
Well, they try. I'm just not sure about your medium, though. I'm not sure who would handle that kind of stuff. Who handles broadcasting and things like? Is that what you would be considered, broadcasting?
For the most part.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Which agencies handle broadcasters.
Well, we can definitely talk about that off the air. But the last question I want to ask you, I want you to be brutally honest, going over to women now. When I first approached you, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And would you recommend it to anyone you know to be a guest on the Keith Andrew Network?
When you asked me, my first response was, not knowing much about you, was, okay, what's this about? He's trying to sell me Bitcoin, right? And through our communications and my watching the video that you did with this other person, whose name I can't remember, I thought, oh, this is a guy that's real, and he's creating himself. And I'm all for that. And I support your cause, and I support your enthusiasm and your talent and your audacity. You mean all those things come with talent. I mean, that's what you need. You need all of those things. You have to go, hey man, I'm Keith and I'm going to do a show. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to be, hey, I'm Keith, I'm going to go to the 7-Eleven or something. I don't know what. Look, I'm not trying to demean, but I think, do you understand what I'm saying? And now I'm quite delighted by the experience. Actually, I am. I mean, I think this is a good thing. I hope you get. I hope you have a lot of viewers, because I think that I think that what you're doing could be beneficial to all communities. But certainly for the target audience that you're going for. But I think it could benefit everybody. And I think it's an awesome thing, Keith. And I think you're a genuine person. I get that sense from you.
No, I appreciate that. But I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up our interview segment, everyone make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network, available at youtube.com and facebook.com. As I always say, until we meet again, catch you later.